This video was sponsored by Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com, use promo code CLNS20 for 20% off of your purchases.
Yo.
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm good, bro.
It's good to talk to you. Hey, man, can I start by just giving you a compliment?
Absolutely.
I've known who you are for a long time. The thing that always sticks out to me is that you're so, first of all, you're a great example for young guys. You're also really empathetic, and I think when people talk about sports, people often forget that we're talking about human beings, and you're so good at empathy and both setting a good example, saying, hey, there's certain stuff you got to do, you got to take care of business, but also understanding that people make mistakes and they're human, and you're so good at the human element. Can you talk about your beliefs a little bit? Because I'm a fan of you and who you are, not just your content.
Well, first off, bro, appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, I think it's just because I came to YouTube and like people got to know me a little bit later in my life. Like a lot of cats that get on YouTube are usually younger.
Yeah.
I think I probably got on by like 27, 28. So I had just lived a lot of life, man. I went to college for 3-4 years, and then I managed a $1 million retail store for like 5 years. So I feel like I've been through a lot.
Yeah.
I made a ton of mistakes. And I know so many people, like where I'm from, who are good. You know, they're good cats.
Yeah.
They take care of their kids. They love their family. They got the same morals as, the average American. But they sometimes make bad decisions. They get caught in these situations, and it's a lot of situations I grew up in. I didn't even realize how bad it was. You know what I'm saying? Until you kind of get that perspective as you get out in the world. A lot of people never get that perspective, or they get it too late. So when I look at athletes, I literally just look at them as people. And it was weird to me at first that a lot of people didn't look at it like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I think Josh Gordon is a good example. Like a whole lot of people, like the same people who would be like, yo, addiction is a real thing. It's a disease. And they'll understand like their uncle has an addiction problem, but they can't understand that Josh Gordon has an addiction problem. Like, you know what I mean? They think that because he can run fast and jump high, that for some reason he should just be immune to all the other, all these other human situations. And I just always kind of thought that was ridiculous, honestly.
Yeah, a little bit.
And so I try to bring that to my channel. So when I talk about it, what I do is, man, and I'm gonna stick with Josh Gordon because I think it's just a good example. Mm-hmm. I saw so much stuff about Josh Gordon on ESPN. He's getting talked about every single day. I had no idea that he started doing he became addicted to, I won't go into it because, YouTube, but he became addicted to a lot of different things. He was like 13, 14 years old. His parents were addicts.
Yeah.
And that stuff was just on the internet. I don't know Josh Gordon. It was just out there, public information. But I never heard it. Like when the story got told, that never got mentioned. Yeah. And that doesn't change the fact that, look, man, you have an issue, you need to try to fix it, and it's a problem. You broke the rules, you're gonna get punished for it. It don't change that fact at all. Yeah. But I just like to have the context. You know what I'm saying? So now I can understand a little bit better why he's making these decisions that he's making. And it just, when you think about it, kind of makes sense. Like if you're an addict and you're poor and then you get money, you know what I'm saying? Like now you have access to all the stuff that you was doing before. You can do it times 10 because there's nothing stopping you. So it kind of makes sense. Like you just understand it, you know what I'm saying? And so that's really all I was looking to do, to be quite honest. And then I also, my internet, this is my rule on the internet, period. On the internet, because, I'm 32, so I kind of came up when, as the internet was taking off, but I again, a lot of real life experience. I try not to say nothing on the internet I wouldn't say to a person. Like I really run that through my mind. Like, would I say this if I was across from this dude? You know what I'm saying? And if I wouldn't say it across from the dude, I try to abstain from saying it on the internet. You know what I'm saying? I ain't
That's a great
perfect,
policy.
but that's pretty much my guiding star. So I try to look at it like that. If I was actually having a conversation with this person, or like his mother was watching this video, or something like that.
Well, the thing is, sometimes they do.
Be respectful.
If I may, have you ever had athletes reach out to you? Because I have, and they really like when we talk about them as human beings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't talk about it yet.
Yeah.
I got a great
Yep.
opportunity coming up next month. And it's pretty much largely because of that. Like, he just really liked the way that, I talk about the human side of it and everything. So I don't really, I never really looked at it as this big thing, but I have noticed as the channel has grown, that's drawn a lot of people to it. That's what a lot of people seem to enjoy about the content. So I think it's dope.
Well, I think people follow they want your content, but they want to hear from you yourself. And I totally understand that. I love the way you covered Kima Sivarand. He was a guy that he got cut for. A lot of people made it kind of into a meme. He got cut for trying to sneak a girl into his hotel room. And I get, like, it is a funny story. Like, you look at it face value, you go, oh my gosh, that's the most hilarious thing I've ever heard. But he's also a dude who misses out on maybe his lifelong dream, and that's inherently sad and heartbreaking. And I thought the way you covered that story, man, was so great.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Because anytime there's a story like there's so many jokes, it's like it's so easy to go that route.
Yeah.
But like I really think about it like I think anybody can do this. Like I don't think this is anything special. Like I really don't.
Yeah.
When I'm 32. These cats is like usually in their 20s, man. When a young person makes a terrible decision, I could always look at it and be like, man, I remember I made this terrible decision. I made this like this is me. This is like my little brother, my little cousin. Like, so I look at it like that. So I don't want to be like overly harsh or overly judgmental. Yeah, you made a stupid mistake, and I'm gonna tell you made a stupid mistake. But at the same time, I can also empathize with you, and I understand that we've all made stupid mistakes. Sometimes you end up paying big. Sometimes you get away with it. Yeah. He ended up paying huge, and it's something that probably seemed real important to him at the time. And I know, bro, 4-5 years down the line, he gonna think back on that, and it's gonna eat him up, And that's sad, because it's gonna be hard for him. It's possible. People have done it. It's gonna be hard for him though to move on to like the next stage of his life because he's gonna understand he really blew this opportunity just because hormones. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's rough. You know, it's gonna be rough for him to deal with.
The one I always understand is when guys, if you're 22 years old, you make a couple $1 million. I don't know how you don't, and you've lived your whole life. I know. I grew up in a mobile home. I worked at a car wash for 2.5 years. I was building strong beta sports, going to college. Like the first time I got enough money from YouTube to like survive and get my own place, I didn't know what to do with it. And I can't imagine, I was living paycheck to paycheck and I still almost do. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have all this money. It felt so great. I can't imagine if that was, instead of, enough to survive, if it was millions of dollars. Can you imagine? I can't. It's crazy.
It's very difficult to imagine, but I just, like the thing you have to do is that you see how you can put that in perspective. Like you gotta be able to put it in perspective. Anytime you see a person do something, instead of being like, yo, this person's an idiot. Like try to think about it. Like, okay, if that was me, what would I really do?
Yeah.
What did I do that one time I got that bonus check at work? I splurged. You know what I'm saying? And I got like you got a $700 bonus check at work, and you pretty much blew the whole thing. So imagine if you got $1 million bonus check. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You're gonna likely have that same behavior, especially at least until you get used to, you get used to actually having money and you learn like what to do with it.
Well, it's funny too, man. $1 million, you could spend that so quick. I mean, you buy a house for your mom, a car, another house, like it's gone. Yeah, like bam,
it can be gone just like that.
Yeah,
just like that. And if you're an athlete and your career is hella short, it's dangerous. And that's why when Cass is holding out and all of that, I get it, bro. Like, it's like, dog, I gotta get paid right now. My shelf life is, like, my career span is not that long. Like, I know I'm making a whole bunch of money, but I'm not gonna make this amount for the next 30, 40 years, like most careers.
Did you see the way that...
You gotta get it while you can get it.
Oh, for sure, man. Did you see the way that Melvin Ingram held out?
Yeah.
I loved that.
I didn't see it like in detail, but I just saw that he was at practice just not participating.
Yep. Well, he was helping guys out. He's coaching out. He's engaged. He's just not risking injury till he gets paid. I love that. That's perfect.
And that's smart. That's like, I actually didn't even know. I didn't know like all the details of that. Like, but see, that's when you look at the situation and say, yo, what is my goal here to get paid? It's like a lot of times when guys hold out, they say their goal is to get paid, but it seems like their goal is to kind of get back at the organization.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
feels like more like a revenge than a means to an end. And so, like, yeah, the way he did it, that's dope. I think everybody should really like take a page out of his book. 'Cause
Absolutely.
that was smart.
Well, I hate when guys are. I don't hate. I get the holdout, but it's tough when guys are like alone in the woods, deep somewhere, not answering anything. They're holed away somewhere. It's like, man, you're not present. You're not engaged. Your leadership is
Yeah.
being lost. Your presence is being lost. It's hard.
Yeah.
And you want
I
to
think
reward
you
a
should
guy.
only get to that point if you try the Melvin Ingram route and it doesn't work, right? Like, so if you did that this year and then you still end up not getting paid, like, you can get to that point if the organization's just not willing to work with you
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
But usually, they'll be at least somewhat reasonable if you're somewhat reasonable.
Where are you from?
Most of the time.
I know you're a Bengals fan. I would assume
Yeah.
Cincinnati. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Mississippi.
Man.
Of all places, yeah. So you're probably wondering, like, why is a kid from Mississippi a Cincinnati Bengals fan?
Yes, absolutely I am.
All right, man. So here it is. So I'm from Mississippi, super small town, like the country. You can deer hunt from my porch. Like no cap. Like you can shoot deer from my porch. My dad is a Cowboys fan because when he was growing up, that's all that was on TV. Mississippi doesn't have a team, right?
Yep.
My uncle, we own like this big piece of land. So it's my house, my granddad's house, and my uncle's house. My uncle is an Eagles fan. My granddad is a Dolphins fan. So growing up, every male I know have a different team. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I didn't really understand the whole concept of people all pulling for the same team. Like I didn't see that really until I went to college. But in in my younger life, I ain't never see that. So I was like, man, I gotta pick me a team. When I started playing football around like 7th grade, I played receiver. And my dad had put me on Michael Irvin and Jerry Rice. I grew up watching football with him.
Yeah.
And so when I watch the game, I'm watching the receivers. That's it. Like I watch from a receiver's standpoint. I still kind of do that to this day. And I discovered Chad Johnson, and he had a Southern dialect like me. He had gold teeth in his mouth like all my relatives. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it pulled me in. So I became a fan of Chad, and he always talked about the art of running routes. So he was teaching, and we didn't really have like YouTube in the same capacity that you got it now.
Yep.
This was the most I could get. So I was locked in. Became a huge Chad fan. And then through that, I learned about the rest of the receiving corps, Hoosh Mazada, Chris Henry, and I just became a Bengals fan like that. And it actually surprised me, like, I wasn't super engaged the entire time because, again, I'm playing football myself.
Yep.
I go to college. I'm not watching football every Sunday. Like, we play on Saturday. Like, I'm not really thinking about the NFL like that. But to my surprise, like, years later, when I tuned back into the NFL, I cared whether or not the Bengals won. Like, when the Bengals would lose, I would be pissed off. And I was like, damn, I'm a Bengals fan, At this point, I have no knowledge of the fact that they haven't won a playoff game since 1992. I don't know this. I don't know that our owner is considered cheap. I don't really, I hadn't gotten that deep into it, but I was already emotionally attached to the team before I knew any of that. So once I learned all of that, I'm a loyal guy. I stayed down regardless. And, what I'm saying, here we are, man, years later. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into it, man. It was it's kind of a chance, a by chance thing. And once I picked my team, ain't no switching for me. Like, I'm that type.
That's awesome. I'm a big Chad Johnson, Chad Ochocinco fan. He's such a guy he gets the entertainment side of things, but he also took care of business behind the scenes.
Yeah.
He's actually one of those guys who's been really smart with his money, which is awesome.
Yeah. He's just a nice dude, bro.
Yeah.
He's a good dude, bro. He be sending out money all the time, leaving $2,000 tips. I mean, and those are like small things, but it's just like cool stuff, like putting that good energy out there. He posts that on Twitter, and it influenced people like me. It influenced people like all the people that follow him to just do nice stuff sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, just put that good energy out there, like brighten up somebody else's day. Like, it just go a long way. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm still a huge fan of Chad.
Are you a fan of Marshawn Lynch? I'm watching Last Chance U season 5, and I see beast mode on the back of their shirts everywhere. I'm like, oh wow, that makes sense. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I am a fan of Marshawn. That's my dude.
If I may, have you ever been to Cincinnati?
I have not.
Man, you should go.
I was supposed to. Man, I've talked to like because I've been to games, but I've never been to a game in Cincinnati. I always wait till they come closer to me, and then I'll go.
I will say this: flights are really cheap to Cincinnati. I went to a Bengals game. I went to Bengals Patriots last December. Went to Northern Road Brewery, this incredible brewery. The city is, it's a northern city. It's cold, but it's actually kind of pretty in its own way. It's kind of this unique, cool place. Yeah.
Man, I'm definitely going to go. I was going to go this year for sure. Like, I got enough contacts now to get, like, tickets and stuff. But it's just with the whole pandemic situation, I don't know how it's going to play out.
Dude, all long-term plans are gone.
I can't say for sure. Yeah, so, like, at this point, I don't know, man. I've canceled probably 10 trips to different places within the last few months. So we'll see what happens with it. But, yeah, I can't wait to go, man. It's going to be a good experience.
What do you expect from your team this year? What do you expect from the Bengals?
I expect us to be fun, entertaining to watch for sure. A lot of Bengals fans are like, I mean, we hyped up, we excited, you know what I'm saying? So forgive us, bro. We just had a 2-win season. You know, we got Bengals fans saying we're going to win 10 games. Hey, listen, I still have my doubts about the team. The biggest doubt being the offensive line. I know they've improved, but have they improved enough? You know, that it remains to be seen. But I think we're going to be a fun team to watch, man. And I'm just kind of looking forward to growth. I'm not ready to give, like, my record prediction yet. I'm going to get that in the video. But so I ain't ready to get that just yet. But I think we're going to surprise a lot of people. We're going to be much improved. I think our defense is going to be a lot better than a lot of people think. And people don't seem to understand how good our receiving core is. And I get it. They're always hurt. So, you know, every time we play on prime time, we got, like, Tyler Boyd is probably the only receiver you see out there that you recognize. Everybody else is just backup players because AJ's been hurt for the last 2 years and John Ross has been hurt since we drafted him. But assuming just relative health, if we don't have, like, the worst luck ever again, and AJ doesn't miss more than 4 games and John Ross doesn't miss more than 4 games, we're going to catch a lot of people off guard, man. A lot of people. So I'm excited. I think we're going to have a good season.
I think you guys could be a lot like the Arizona Cardinals were last year, where they got some flashes of, like, brilliance. There's some couple key moments that are awesome. I don't know that you're going to win a ton of games, but I think fun is a great... Because what I hate for you is to sit at home and be like, I hate this team. They suck. They're not any fun. They're going to score touchdowns. Joe Burrow's going to be interesting. And that's, at the very least, what you want, right?
Yeah, because, again, last year was brutal, man. We won 2 games. I watched every one.
Oh, you poor soul. Right. You had to watch Ryan Finley. I'm so sorry for you.
Oh, my God. Like, there was a point where I was like, yo, we got to put Finley in because we got to see what we have.
Yeah.
You know, because we drafted him in the 4th round. We're going to have a high pick. You know, we know what we got in Dalton. You know, let's see Finley. He played like 2 drives, and I was like, all right, we've seen enough. You know, let's get Dalton back in.
Well, imagine if he'd been good, though. You could have got Chase Young and had a franchise quarterback if Ryan Finley had worked out. I mean, you had to see it.
Well, yeah, for sure. It only makes sense. Like, it would have been stupid at that point because we were, you know, we had won, 1 game. This was like midway through the season. You know, we were like 1-7. We're obviously not going to the playoffs. We just drafted a quarterback. If they didn't put him in and start him 2 weeks, I would have been pissed. I was on Twitter talking about this for like the 3 weeks before they finally put him in because we had seen enough of Dalton. And, you know, I respect Dalton, but I just think he was over the situation and we just needed a new quarterback that could actually elevate the team. Yeah. Because before, I feel like the team kind of elevated Dalton, and then when some of those pieces went away and got injured and stuff like that, you know, we go 2-14.
You want a QB to grow with?
Yeah, for sure. And so there's always hope, man. Like, there's always hope. You're always growing. You learn from everything. If he plays bad, that's okay. That's progress. He plays good, great, progress. So this year is almost a free year for us, assuming that if the offensive line is just decent, you know, this year should be a fun year for Bengals fans regardless. And I can see us winning from like 4 games to like 9, depending on breaks. Like, how lucky do we get? How unlucky do we get?
Well, there's like a free spirit. Like, there's nothing to lose. Hey, we might as well. Let's just enjoy this. It could be great. If I may, do you ever play fantasy football? I have never once played fantasy football. I don't really understand it. Like, they draw. It doesn't really appeal to me. Are you a fantasy football guy?
Yeah, I play. I'm not like the biggest, like I'm not like one of these cats that's like you'll see like the fantasy football podcast and those dudes are like really, I just play with my friends. Yeah. And we actually play like a unique rule set that I don't see a lot of people play under. We don't use standard scoring. We use the PPR, so points per reception, of course.
Yep.
But we also use IDP, individual defensive players. And that really changes the game, man, because if you got you got to get 3 DBs, you got to get 2 linebackers, D linemen. And it kind of raises your knowledge of players around the league that you probably wouldn't have paid attention to before. And it will sweeten certain games. Like if you got that Thursday night matchup that nobody cares about, well, guess what? I got 4 players playing in this game. So when I watch the game, it's going to raise the level of entertainment for me. If it's also a good game, great. That's, you know what I'm saying? That's going to add to it even more.
Yeah.
But it kind of gives you that. One thing I do, though, I kind of stay away from my own players just because, I don't know, it feels like I'm jinxing it or something like that.
Yeah, that's funny.
So, yeah, unless they just fall and it's like just great value, I go get other people's players.
That's the best
argument. Because I'm going to watch all the Bengals games regardless.
You just made the best argument I've ever heard in fantasy football, which is that everyone says, well, it's fun. I'm like, well, it sounds like a ton of work. I'm like, I don't really want to spend hours a week trying to figure out who to start and trying to figure out the best matchup.
Well,
and I guess
it
depends on how serious you take it, right? Like
exactly. That's what it comes down to. See, some people, they look at it like it's more of a job for them. Like me, I'm like a casual competitive player, right? So
yeah.
I'm playing with guys that are not football pros. Like, some of them are really into it. Some of them are super, super casual football fans anyway. And sometimes they have the best team because they just pick names. And I'm picking this dude that I think is going to break out that nobody's ever heard of. And I'm going to start him this week. And he's going to give me 0 points or 50. And, you get burned a lot. But it's fun. Like, getting burned to me is one of the most fun things. Like, I don't like playing it safe. Even in life and in fantasy football, it's free. Like, I could do it. Yeah. And, if I take an L, I get trash talking in the group chat for a week. And then I move on with my life. Like, it's not that big of a deal. You know what I'm saying?
I want to let the record stand. What you said about it makes some random games more entertaining. That's awesome. And then I think for me, I could learn more about. I mean, I know a lot about the league. It's my favorite thing, but I probably could learn more names even more by playing fantasy football, hearing about people I've never heard of.
For sure. You start to learn like the third guy, the third receiver on the depth chart, the backup running back for this team, because once Alvin Kamara gets hurt, you need to know that they got Latavius Murray.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and so it's like all these little extra little nuanced things that you kind of learn about players that are not at the top of the depth chart and that aren't always being talked about on ESPN. And if you play fantasy football, this dude might be a fantasy football star, but like a casual football fan have no idea who it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it helps in our line of work. It definitely helps because it kind of just gives you more stuff to talk about, and more like insights to draw from when when you're talking football on your podcast or on the video for me.
Do you have time for 2 more? I want to be conscientious of your time.
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Can we talk about Trey Lance? Because what they're doing is kind of crazy. They're playing 1 game this year, kind of basically so their quarterback can get a look to the NFL, so the NFL can see what he can do in 1 game. I've never seen. I mean, of course, this whole year has been weird and crazy stuff has happened, but I've never seen anything like that. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty weird. At first, like when I first think about it, it sounds crazy, and then I'm like, yo. For the school though, it just makes so much sense. I don't know how much sense it makes for Trey, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, but assuming he's gonna play in it, which I'm assuming he is, then it is what it is. But for the school, man, they're gonna get to be on TV at a time where there's not a whole lot of football on. This is a top prospect. It's going to get promoted on ESPN because they're going to talk about Trey Lance. You know what I'm saying? So now, and then it's the school Carson Wentz went to, so that'll add a little bit of intrigue for people who aren't really into like that whole FCS thing. People are going to tune in that wouldn't have tuned in before. It's going to raise the profile of the school, and it's going to help them in recruiting big time, because if I'm a prospect that's got to go to it. I went to an FCS school. So if I'm a prospect who got to go to an FCS school, and I know that if I'm that dude, they'll go out of their way to make sure I'm on TV. You know what I'm saying? Think about the scouts that's going to be watching this game.
Yeah,
So
true.
That team already has, obviously, it's Trey. There's also an offensive lineman they have that is an NFL prospect. And who knows, man, you're going to have an opportunity if you're on the team or on the field to be seen. Like, if you pop, you might get some interest. You
might
know
get a
what I'm
camp
saying?
invite
And
you weren't going to get otherwise.
dude, that's huge. That's a huge sell for a player that's gonna go and play on that level. So it's gonna help the school tremendously. So yeah, it make all the sense in the world once you really think about it. It's an odd situation, and for Trey, I mean, personally, I think right now he's probably. I know people are saying he's top 3, but by the time quarterbacks, not pick, but top 3 quarterbacks. By the time they go through all his film and look at his school and all that stuff, if he just had to stand on what he has right now, depending on how many teams need a quarterback next year, true enough.
Yep.
But he's probably like somewhere right in the middle of the first round.
Yeah.
This game can change that dramatically. He could slide to the back end of the first. I don't think he'll slide out of it unless he's just horrible.
He's got more to lose
or he
than
could
gain.
slide to the top. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
he just even though he's not playing anybody, if his physical traits just pop. And then he had the whole thing last year with no interceptions. Like, that hype is going to build, and he going to mess around, or he could mess around and slide into one of them top 5 picks and maybe jump a Justin Fields or something like that. It is possible, depending on how this game goes. You know, so there's a lot riding on it. It's a super interesting game, and yeah, I'm gonna definitely be tuned in, man.
Well, as a fan, it's must-watch television. You're like, the pressure's on for him.
The pressure is sky high. And when you going to get that in your first and last game of your sophomore season, all this pressure, like anytime that's the case as a sports fan, like that's where you want to be. Like, you know what I'm saying? When the pressure mounts, that's why we let the playoffs and stuff so much. Like this is huge for him. You know what I'm saying? It's going to change the trajectory of his career potentially.
What if he's entirely calm? He handles it well. He just balls out. I mean, does he... I look at him on film. I think he might be actually better than Justin Fields. I know some people think that's blasphemous, but I really love Trey Lance. Do you think he could skyrocket up? How high can he get?
Well, see, you're more of a film guy than me, so to hear you say that is interesting. You know what I'm saying? Because I've read it both ways. I've seen people say that, and then I've also seen people, like you say it's blasphemous. And My whole argument was just that like recency bias is a real thing, man. And so if Trey Lance goes out and plays well, and he's got that fresh tape, we know what Justin Fields has done. Yeah. But they're gonna start to pick Justin Fields apart, and then they're gonna look at Carson Wentz. They're gonna say, "Oh, he went to the same school," and Trey's gonna start to rise. So it can easily happen. Some quarterbacks shoot up the board every year. So it could easily be Trey Lance, you know, depending on how well this game goes. Yeah, if he go out there, like you say, he's super poised, go hard, kill everything, does great, sounds good, confident in the post-game interview. Like, yeah, people going to talk themselves into it. It's only going to take a couple GMs.
First of all, I didn't know you played college football. That's really cool. How dumb is it? Go ahead. No, how silly is it when people look at a quarterback and go, well, they went to the same school, and one guy 10 years ago failed, so this new guy from the same school is going to fail again. There's no one looks at the context. Like, well, Sam Darnold and Carson Palmer played in completely different systems with different coaches and different eras of football for USC. I don't think you can compare them. Am I crazy there?
Yeah. No, that's actually a really good point. I hadn't thought about that before. But, yeah, I mean, it makes a ton of sense. But, like, I don't think... Well, I can't say what people do. For me personally, I wouldn't do it after one guy. But if there's like a clear like history there where you've had several top prospects go to your school and then they go to the NFL and don't pan out. Yeah. I mean, you have to at least take that into consideration in your evaluation. Like, I'm not saying that's like the be all end all, but it's got to be in there, you know.
I think the best thing you can do
for some reason this is just not translating to the NFL. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, you can do is look at a system. Like you go to Mike Leach quarterbacks often don't work in the NFL, and there's a reason for that. Their style of play often doesn't fit the NFL. Gardner Minshew is kind of an anomaly because of the way he played. He'd been in different systems. He had much more NFL traits than a typical Mike Leach quarterback. But it's kind of funny how, and I think if you're going to criticize anybody and say, well, their system doesn't translate to the NFL, Mike Leach is a perfect guy. I was very close to that organization at Washington, I guess, team in Washington State. I worked on the sidelines a lot. For the most part, their system doesn't translate to the NFL. So I think when people look at a quarterback and go, hey, they're not going to work because of X. It's not the school necessarily. It's usually the system they're coming from.
Right.
Let's
I
talk
totally
about,
agree with that.
Let's talk about Earl Thomas, because you made a video kind of right before he got released about, well, this could actually happen. Earl Thomas, this potentially like a really great safety, could actually get released from the Ravens. What was your initial reaction when that happened?
I wasn't shocked because, like like you said, I had already talked about it beforehand, and I honestly second guessed it though, because when I made that video, there was people in my comment section like, "Oh man, you know what I mean? You're hating on the Ravens because I'm a Bengals fan." Or stuff like that.
I don't think you do that. You're pretty fair and objective.
Of course I don't. So I didn't really take that to heart because I'm like, come on, bro. I know my character. But I was like, maybe I'm tripping. But I'm like, yo, he had problems last year in training camp. And then he had problems again. And like when you look at the details, and I go over it in the video, like the players on the team were saying openly that they did not want him there. They had a vote saying that they didn't want him on the team. Once that happens, bro, and you're a vet, you're not a young guy who can come out of this behavior maybe. You're just young. If you're 30 years old, you're a whole vet, you a multiple-time Pro Bowl. Like, if you all of that means this is not changing. This behavior, this is who you are at this point. Yeah. And you just don't fit with this team in this locker room. Not to mention, Earl was also complaining about the Ravens' defense, and it was more complicated than it needed to be, and he wasn't able to play to his strengths all the time. And I also have friends who are diehard Ravens fans, and they complain about Earl Thomas all last year about his play specifically. Now, I wasn't really super open to it at the time because my team is 2-14, and you're complaining about your future Hall of Fame free safety. I don't really care what you're saying, but in hindsight, they was right. And so the fact that they were saying that, and then players on the team actually echoed that and was pushing up this younger safety that they want to see. I think Josh Elliott, if I'm not mixing up his name. I mean, so once I saw all of that, I knew it was a pretty big possibility. I thought it was likely. Like, I thought it was going to most likely happen. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I wasn't shocked when they actually let him go.
I wonder if they're better off without him. Everything I hear sounds like a team that I actually didn't know about the vote. That's new information to me, that they're like, we just don't want this guy around.
Yeah, the leadership council is what they said. The leadership council on the team voted that they did not want him around.
From that alone,
and that info
they're better
was
off,
out before he got released.
You've been in a locker room. If there's a guy causing problems, who's late to meetings, who's not showing up, who's just a pain, who's cancerous, you don't want him there. He's actually a hindrance to you trying to win games.
Absolutely. Especially a team like the Ravens that's so well run, their locker room is strong. Like, they not going to deal with that type of behavior. So, yeah, once I saw that, and then you couple it with kind of the way he left Seattle, you couple it with the issues he had this summer, you couple that with the fact that he had training camp problems last year, it's like, they're probably going to release this dude. You know what I'm saying? If they can't trade him.
Here's the question. You're a Bengals fan. Would you want Earl Thomas?
No.
Oh, wow. That's really telling, right? If you're a team that was 2-14 last year and there's a potential Hall of Fame All-Pro safety, and you're like, we don't want him. That's very concerning.
Let me explain my reasoning. Because I'm not one of those guys that's like, if this will take us from 2 wins to 4 wins, we should absolutely do it. Like, I don't think like that. I'm thinking like, yo, when is our Super Bowl window? It's not this year.
No.
It's not next year. So why would we sign Earl Thomas? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Who we have young safeties. We got Jesse Bates, who's 23, who's take big steps out of Wake Forest. We just signed Von Bell from New Orleans to come and play strong safety for us. Why would I bring in Earl Thomas when I got 2 young players who can grow as the team grows? Because by the time the team get to a point where we can actually compete for a Super Bowl, Earl Thomas is going to be retiring.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we already know he's a locker room cancer. Like, if I thought he was going to come in, not be super expensive, teach my young guys and kind of teach them the way, then, I consider that. But I know he's late for meetings all the time because y'all just told me this. And so, I'm good. Like,
You're not missing out on a bunch of veteran leadership.
Nah. He if you're a fan, you probably only should want Earl Thomas if your team is 1 or 2 pieces away. You know what I'm saying? If you need like some extra on your defense for 1 year, like a rental, maybe 2 years, then you might be interested in Earl Thomas. But if you're a young rebuilding team, you have no use for Earl at all.
Do you think it's Jerry Jones? Is that who you think is going to, either the Cowboys are going to bring him in?
Potentially. I've seen, man, the reports.
Yeah.
I've seen they
Who
weren't
knows?
interested. I've seen they were interested. I've seen all kind of stuff. That's what
the
I still
Cowboys
expect.
think they're one piece away every single year, so I don't
Exactly.
know. Like,
So if anybody, they'll pull the trigger. I wonder about their cap situation though.
yeah.
Like I don't really know if they can. I don't really know like what's up with their cap situation because I know they've been trying to like clear up space because they're supposed to get hit hard. I think next year with penalties and stuff. But so I don't know. That might be the one reason they don't bring him in.
I want to, before we end things, I want to revisit Trey Lance for 1 second because there was one thing I didn't say about that I don't know if you know the answer to this or not. They're playing one game this year with North Dakota State. Does that, do the players, I would have said his teammates are worried about losing eligibility because are they going to lose 1 year of eligibility for one game?
See, that's a great question. And I actually did think about that when I did my reporting, but because I was just talking about Trey, I didn't super look into it.
Yeah. I have no idea. I don't think they have thought about that either.
I don't know. I've seen some people say they were having this game so that a lot of these guys wouldn't transfer. So
Yeah.
that makes me think they're not going to lose eligibility, but I couldn't say for sure. It's a damn good question, though.
Well, also,
but I don't know
too,
the answer.
what makes sense, though, is the teammates might go, it's worth the trade-off because we're going to get so many eyeballs on us that we never would have gotten otherwise. They might say it's worth it if we're going to have more scouts watching us play and have an opportunity to showcase our skill set.
I mean, that might be the case for like 3
Yeah.
or 4 guys on the team who think they got a shot to go to the NFL. But if I don't think I got a shot to go to the NFL, I think it's very unlikely. I just want to play as many football games as I can before my career is over. I'm not going to burn a whole year for one game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. I was going to end that there, but there's one more thing I want to ask you because you played college football. You played at the FCS level. I had no idea. I always tell guys, I know a lot of people that have chosen to play FCS football. I'm really close to Eastern Washington, their program. I have friends there. I've worked there on their national championship run. I worked on the sidelines for them. I know people that went there on scholarship rather than going to like a Pac-12 school as a walk-on because they realized, hey, I want to go somewhere I'm actually wanted. I want to try to get playing time. I don't want to waste 4 years of my life as a practice squad dummy. And can you speak to that at all? Because you might have some kind of experience with that where I think it's important to chase playing time, chase the experience you want. And I don't know that everyone thinks about it that way.
Yeah, I wish I could say I was thinking about that when I was coming out of high school. I wasn't. I mean, it makes total sense to me as an adult. And if I had to make that decision today, I would err on that side. Go somewhere that you wanted. And I said FCS. Let me be clear. I went to a D1 AA school, Southern University. It's a historically black college. But on NCAA, like football game series, we would have been considered FCS.
Yeah.
So for me, I just didn't. I didn't have the experiences, man. I just really didn't know. I didn't know no better. I'm from a small place, so I went to Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Coming from where I come from was like going to LSU. It was like the same thing. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really even understand the differences. Yeah, I didn't understand the differences in the schools until I got there. It was much later, because that's just not something that where I'm from. The biggest schools are like Alcorn State University, where Steve McNair played at, which is right down the street from my house, by the way. Another D1 AA school, HBCU. And so I didn't even understand like the difference in like the SEC and like the SWAC. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't really get it. So yeah, it really wasn't something I thought about. I only sent my tape. This is how little ambition I had. I only sent my tape because I didn't go to any camps. Every time you had like a football camp, we also had a basketball game. I was a basketball player, so I wasn't worried about no camp. I was going hoop. You know, dumb decision in hindsight, but this was my mindset. But yeah, I sent my tape to only SWAC schools. Every last one of them offered me a scholarship. I went on 2 visits. I went to Southern and I went to Jackson State. And I was supposed to go to all of them, but I just felt like it was kind of a waste of time.
Wow.
I was like, bro, yeah, because I was about to leave forever. Like I'm about to leave my hometown, and I'm kind of the man here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I knew, I knew when I left, I was gonna have to start all the way over. So I kind of want to just spend this time at home. You know what I'm saying? And so I went on 2 visits, and I was like, all right. I went and looked at the stats on their websites, which receivers had the most yards. This is what I looked at. And I was like, okay, they throw the ball a lot. I'm going to go there. Don't really matter where I go. I'm going to be the man, no problem. And, dumb decision in hindsight, the way I made it, but that's exactly how I made it. I didn't even think that deeply about it. Like, I just assumed things would work out for me.
Why the SWAC? I've never heard anyone say that they pursued only those schools and not bigger or not other places.
Yeah. Just because, again, so where I grew up, man, Lorman, Mississippi. Again, Alcorn State is in Lorman. So I grew up on that campus. I'd walk to that campus every day to play basketball, football, whatever, with the college kids or whatever. So, and then Steve McNair at the time, it was Air McNair. He had bumper stickers on every car, my teacher's desk. There's pictures of him throughout my entire school. So to me, in this little small bubble that I'm in, I honestly, when I tell you, Steve McNair and Michael Jordan were like on the same level for me.
Yeah.
Like I literally thought this. So I just really didn't understand, like I was saying, I understand the differences. So to me, going to the SWAC school, like that's great. Like everybody in my family wanted to play for Alcorn. Everybody I went to school with wanted to play for Jackson State. Like that's what everybody wanted to do. So when I had the opportunity to do it, I was the luckiest guy in the world. So to me, it was kind of a no-brainer. And so, that's really just me being naive, man. That was really what it came from. Turns out it was one of the best decisions I ever made. Like, not from a football standpoint, but I met my wife there. I met all my best friends who are still my best friends till this day. I met them all in college. You know what I'm saying? Like the experiences I had there really shaped who I became because I was a completely different person than I was when I went there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It really shaped who I became, and like I damn sure don't regret it at all.
Hey man, I guess last thing, have you ever been to Death Valley?
No, not for a game.
Really? Wow. I'd never. You lived in Baton Rouge for a while. I was curious.
No interest. I had no interest, bro. It was unbelievable. I go to the bars and stuff after the game, but like I never had any interest in going to the games. I didn't even really watch the games. Like when I was there, I didn't even watch them on TV, man.
Man, hey, I want to say thank you so much. This has been a great interview. You're awesome. You give me like way more time than I would have expected or would have wanted initially, man. Thank you so much. You're awesome. You're a great guest.
Sure, bro.
You're welcome back anytime. Man, thank you so much. You're awesome.
For sure, man. I'm happy to be on, bro. Anytime you want me on, I come through. No problem.
All right, my man. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and let's enjoy the football season. It's going to be awesome.
Dude, it's only like 10 days away.
It's crazy.
It's right around the corner.
Oh, my gosh. It's going to be awesome. Take care, man. Thank you so much.
All right, dude.